Hello, my name is Teo Gorson, and today I will be showing you how to use a micrometer. Now, before we get started with measuring things, there's three main components of the micrometer. First of all is going to be the actual body of it itself. Then there's going to be the sleeve, and then there's going to be the thimble right here. The thimble is the part that you're going to move to either loosen or tighten onto a piece to clamp onto it to take your measurements. Now, as you'll also notice, there's multiple sets of numbers on these, which will measure different decimal points. For example, there's this smallest line right here, which would be our first measurement. There's the line on the sleeve, which is our second measurement. And then there's a third line up here, which is our third and final measurement. Now, I will demonstrate how to use this micrometer using a piston ring as our measurement. Now, I'm going to tighten it a little bit closer because this is a very thin piston ring. I will then angle the micrometer so that I have a good grip on it and tighten until I hear a click, at which point I will lock my micrometer, wiggle out my piston ring, and then I will take my measurement. As we can see here, the first measurement, which is going to be this line down here, is pointed at 0 and then 2 lines behind that, which means that it is going to be 0/50ths. That's not the technical term for it, but that's what I call it, which means that the first decimal point is going to be a 0 and the second decimal point is going to be a 50. Now I'm going to use my second measurement, which is going to be on the sleeve here. As we can see, it is going to be 24, which means that I'm going to put it directly below the 50th that I just wrote down, because we're going to need to do some addition to add those two numbers together. And then the third and final point or measurement that I'm going to be taking is the one up top, right here. Now, the way we take this measurement is we look for which line of these 10 points lines up the most perfectly with the lines on the sleeve. Now, looking here, it appears that line 9 actually lines up the best. So that's going to be our fourth decimal point, a 9. So then, this is what I wrote down on my paper, and this is what we're going to be adding together. You see the first 50 that I took. By the way, since the number in the first decimal point is going to be the number that's on the first point that we took here, and since it's so small, it was only 0. But if it was a larger measurement, it could be a 1, a 2, all the way up to a 9. But since it's a 0, the first decimal point is going to be a 0. Now, as I mentioned, since it was 2 lines past 0, it was a 50, or 0/50th. And since the line on the sleeve was 24, we need to add the 50 and 24 together. So that will leave us with 0.0749, because this 9, which is our last decimal point, is going to be added at the end and does not interact with any of the other decimal points, just because it's hundredths, I believe, or thousands. And that is how you use a micrometer. I hope this was a helpful guide.